TLDR is a YouTube news channel, both industries which tend to be a little coy about how they make their money. News outlets sometimes try to hide their earnings so you can't work out who's really funding them. YouTubers often try to use smoke, mirrors and Lamborghinis to trick you into thinking they're cooler than they are. Today though, we're going to break with both traditions. We're going to tell you exactly how much money we make, how much YouTube pays us, and what that money's spent on. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. So in classic TLDR style, we're going to split this video into 3 parts. How we earn money, how we spend money, and then, to be entirely candid, why we could do with your help. Let's start with revenue though. As I'm sure you know, maybe all too well, YouTube runs a lot of adverts against our content. These are the programmatic pre-roll and mid-roll ads which YouTube puts in our videos. Essentially, every time you watch a YouTube video, a tiny auction takes place with advertisers bidding for your eyeballs. The amount they're willing to pay depends on a number of factors, but for us, the most important are location and topic. When it comes to the location, viewers from certain countries are worth more than others, with Americans being valued higher than most other markets, due in part to their relatively high spending power. Topic also matters a lot. TLDR News UK and TLDR Business both tend to earn slightly more per view than Global or EU, because those channels tend to tackle slightly more brand-safe content. EU and Global are far more risky for advertisers to put their ads next to, with videos on those channels more likely to be about war and genocide than the relatively tame domestic policy and business rundowns of UK and Business. All in all then, over the last 12 months, TLDR has earned £331,502 from YouTube advertising. The majority of that has come from TLDR News Global, with £113,841 coming from those videos, with the smaller channels naturally earning less overall. Now, you might be wondering, what about YouTube Premium? Obviously, premium viewers don't watch any adverts, but they do have to pay for YouTube Premium membership. So YouTube still pays us a cut of this subscription fee every time a premium viewer watches one of our videos. As such, we actually earn more when premium subscribers watch videos than regular viewers. The programmatic ads that YouTube inserts aren't the only kinds of advertising we need to discuss though. We obviously also have the sponsored segments at the end of our videos, where we talk about superb services like Brilliant, NordVPN, or Ground News. The way these sponsored segments work is that companies pay to sponsor a week's worth of TLDR content in one go, paying a flat fee to sponsor everything we release. Now, because of the news cycle, and because we do these deals a while in advance, when companies sign up to sponsor TLDR videos, they have essentially no idea what the topics will be, or even which channels these videos will appear on. They do get the ability to feed back on the sponsored segment itself, which is prepared in advance, but beyond that, they don't get any oversight over our journalism. That's a really great setup, and we do genuinely appreciate our sponsors being so engaged and understanding. But it does also mean that we have to turn down potentially more lucrative deals that don't fit with our ethics or journalism policies. All in all though, these sponsorships represent a large chunk of our overall revenue, around £300,000 last year, and combined do genuinely make the whole project possible. Now, it's worth diving deeper into one of those sponsors that we have a special relationship with, Nebula. Now, I'm sure you know that Nebula is the streaming service that we co-own alongside a bunch of other creators. There you can watch all of our videos without ads or sponsored segments, as well as getting exclusive and early access to some content, with a big announcement coming soon. Anyway, the economics of Nebula work quite differently to YouTube. As Nebula is funded by subscribers and not advertisers, contentious or political videos don't earn less. Instead, each month a proportion of profits is distributed to creators based on the amount of watch time their videos receive, as well as us getting a portion of the revenue from any user who signs up using our links. Additionally, we also run the Nebula News division at the company, with Jack working as Nebula's Director of News. Obviously, everything combined, we do earn less from Nebula streams than YouTube, but given the smaller scale of our audience there, it still makes up a lot more per user than YouTube does. Together, these revenue sources are the majority of the money that we're working with each year, but there are a few smaller things worth noting. Too Long is another major revenue source for us. That's our 3 times yearly magazine. Now, we've only produced 2 versions of Too Long thus far, so we expect this to become a bigger part of our revenue going forward, but thus far it's pulled in around £130,000. Alongside Too Long, we also have some new posters for sale on our store. They're super limited. In fact, so limited we numbered them all, but we hope to make merch a bigger slice of the pie going forwards. Google also sometimes pays us for things we do off-platform too, like giving talks, attending events, and running sessions for smaller creators. This is actually a pretty great arrangement to have with YouTube, allowing us access to spaces we wouldn't normally be granted, as well as allowing us to share what we're doing and hopefully inspire other creators and newsrooms. So that's all the money that we bring in a year, which sits at a little under £1 million a year, projected to be around £950,000 this year. That might sound like a lot of money, but on the other side are some pretty substantial costs. The most obvious is the cost of staffing. We think it's super important to have the best people possible and to pay them fairly. So for the last couple of years, we've had a strict policy that everyone is not only paid for every second they work, but is also paid a fair wage. There's no interns or free staff hours at TLDR. As such, we spend around £600,000 a year on staffing costs across the business. Those staff need somewhere to work and coordinate, so we currently spend around £110,000 a year on our office space. And if you want to see our new studio, we actually made a tour of it for our podcast, The Bullpen, which I'll mention again later. Tax is also not an insignificant cost, with business rates, corporation tax, and other necessary taxes also costing around £90,000 a year. General operating expenses, that's things like accountants, lawyers, insurance, office expenses, add up to around £125,000 a year. I'm sure you're wondering how that compares to the revenue we discussed earlier. Well, it's almost exactly the same amount of money, with us pretty much breaking even this year. Earlier in the year, we were actively losing money, but due to some internal changes, we've been able to settle this out by adding new revenue streams like Too Long and making some business adjustments, including unfortunately stopping our YouTube Shorts production. One key thing you won't notice on either of our lists is money from outside sources, venture capital revenue or wealthy donors. We still own 100% of TLDR, and we've never taken money from anyone besides the sources listed in this video. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with seeking investment, but we do think that running it on our own and ensuring that TLDR is controlled by us does prevent the kind of bias or interference that you might see at mainstream outlets. It's obviously more difficult this way, but I hope you agree that extra effort is worth it in order to maintain our independence and prevent us from becoming beholden to any individual, group, or interest. If you do want to support TLDR in the future, protect this business model, and allow us to continue creating independent and free journalism, then consider picking up a copy of our physical magazine, Too Long. We've been working on this for a while now, but it's about to be printed and shipped. So here's everything you need to know. Too Long is 60 pages of our very best journalism, diving deeper into issues than we can on YouTube. As you can see from the front cover, this issue is focused on the UK general election, explaining what Labour want to do with their new huge majority, what each of the other parties are going to do next, and much more. It's more than just the UK though, with major stories from across Europe and the world, including the US election, the countries who could join the EU, the war in Gaza, and the European elections. We're really proud of how this product has turned out, and we think it's some of our best writing yet, able to dive into topics in a way that the algorithm just wouldn't allow. It's also a great way to support the channel, with the cost of production only increasing as we expand and advertising markets getting less stable. Your support helps us improve the business, improve our journalism, and helps us make more free YouTube content for everyone. If you're interested, you can go to toolong.news to buy a copy. There you'll find both standard and premium editions of the magazine, with the premium edition getting your name printed in the thank you section and getting you access to our behind the scenes podcast, The Bullpen, which is where you can also watch the office tour I mentioned earlier. Premium editions are only available until today at 11 AM, so if you're not already too late, then place your orders now. You can also subscribe to Too Long, which gets you 25% off the price and a copy sent straight to you every 4 months. Subscribing really helps us turn this into a reliable revenue stream, which is super helpful when it comes to growing our business. Plus, if physical isn't your thing, then there's also digital versions. Anyway, sales close soon, so head to toolong.news to order now, and make sure to use code FINALORDERS to get an extra £2 off your purchase. Thanks for watching and for supporting TLDR.